At UFC 236, Kelvin Gastelum and Israel Adesanya faced off against each other in a thrilling fight for the interim middleweight championship. Israel had more trouble with Kelvin's pressure and hand speed than I thought he would, and in this fight review we're going to take a look at a couple of successful moments from Kelvin, and then see how Israel dealt with them and break down some things he did successfully. Here's Kelvin pressuring. He takes a half step forward and takes an outside angle with the footwork while throwing an overhand left. Fires a throwaway right hand and tries to catch Israel with hooks as Adesanya tries to escape, changing directions of his movement and moving his head. He's done it more successfully here. He fakes a left hand and moves his head to the right, then to the left as he slips Israel's punch and lands a right hook. Israel tries to frame off, but Kelvin stays on him and fires another right hook that lands and knocks Israel down. Here's Kelvin taking an outside angle with his footwork to align his left hand with the target, and lands a punch to the body. He does it again here, but Israel moves away. Kelvin throws a couple of feints and hop steps, then throws a jab, hop steps again to take the outside angle, and this time the left hand lands. Same thing here, Kelvin jabs, takes an outside angle and lands the left hand. Kelvin had much more success, but there's not enough time to include that in this video. I'll focus more on how Israel was able to land his strikes and win the fight. I hope you'll get the idea with the examples I used here. Here Israel is trying to keep Kelvin at distance by kicking, feinting kicks, jabbing and feinting right hands. Here Kelvin wants to move forward. Israel feints a right hand to scare him away, and after some hand fighting and feints, Kelvin does move forward. Israel feints another right hand and fakes a direction change into a stance change. Now in southpaw he kicks the outside of Kelvin's leg to stop him from following Israel as he throws a left straight and moves away from the fence. Here Kelvin tries to get in. He enters on an angle and throws hooks to catch Israel's head moving to the side, but Israel escapes successfully and tries to land a right hand as he moves away. Here again Israel is extending the lead hand to check the distance, feints a kick and then throws a real one. Feints from Israel were super important because throughout the fight they made Kelvin second guess his advances and allowed Israel to slowly take over the fight. Notice that when Israel throws them, Kelvin always reacts, because you never know if it's going to be the real punch or not, the real kick or a fake one. Here Israel feints, which makes Kelvin react and move. Then Israel throws a right hand to the body, pulls back as Kelvin tries to counter, takes a step back and jabs to feel where Kelvin's head is and throws a right hand. It misses, but he will land that next time. Here's where Israel knocks Kelvin down for the first time. Kelvin takes a step and jabs, and I'm not sure, he either stumbles or Israel steps on his foot and makes his legs buckle. Either way, Kelvin now is out of position. Israel takes a step back, keeping his lead hand on Kelvin's shoulder so he can tell where his head is, and lands a right hand that drops Kelvin. Now Israel is on the offense. He feints, takes a step, jabs and fires a right hand that Kelvin slips. Israel feints an uppercut, throws a kick and a right hand that misses. He stays on Kelvin, throws a jab, takes an outside angle himself and lands a hard right hand. He feints again and leaves his head over his lead foot, inviting Kelvin to throw. And as he does, Israel takes a hop step back and counters with a right hand. Here Israel feints a kick with his hips. Kelvin tries to block it, but instead of a kick, he gets hit with a right hand. Kelvin tries to pressure here, but Israel manages to defend well. He moves back and switches stances and angles as he circles out away from the cage. He was also throwing back as he was doing all of that movement. Here Israel feints a jab, throws a right hand, takes an angle and kicks up high. He didn't land, but he's working around Kelvin's pressure. Here Israel feints a right hand, then throws the real punch while taking an angle and landing a short left hand. Then in a new position he surprises Kelvin with a right hand that lands and stuns him. Here Kelvin tries getting in with a jab and a left hand, but Israel knows the distance. He pulls back, takes a step back and counters with a right hand. Look how Israel breaks the rhythm here. Both men feint, Kelvin jabs, wanting to take the outside angle and throw the left hand, but before he can do that, Israel counters with a right hand. Kelvin anticipates a reset, but instead Israel lands a jab and misses a right hand. Israel here leads over his lead leg and feints, drawing a left hand from Kelvin. He tries countering but doesn't have the right distance. He takes a couple of steps forward, reads the distance with a jab that barely lands, and a right hand that lands flush. Israel kicks the body, feints a kick and then kicks low. Here Israel performs the Joe Schilling shift. He fakes a front kick and steps into a southpaw stance while throwing a right hand. He follows up with a left and a right that misses. Here Israel throws a little feint, then a bigger one with a jab, then another one with a right hand and breaks the rhythm with the real punch that lands flush. Here Kelvin reaches out to hand fight and throws a left hand. Israel pulls back, steps back and counters with a right hand that catches Kelvin as he stands square, followed by a left hook and an uppercut. Another left touches and the right that drops Kelvin. Pay attention to his stance, it's still square. The energy of the punch doesn't have anywhere to travel but right through his head, resulting in a knockdown. Adesanya's wrestling looked good too. Here Israel gets taken down but he pushes Kelvin away and manages to stand up. Here in the clinch Israel has an overhook and wrist control. He grabs Kelvin's neck and turns him away while escaping to the side of the wrist control, not allowing Kelvin to grab or punch him with that hand. After Kelvin hurt Israel with a head kick instead of punching or looking for the finish, he attempted a takedown instead, which was a weird decision, and Israel defended the takedown by fighting the hands. After transitioning the fight to the ground, Israel's aggressive guard helped him get up. Israel Adesanya is a very good striker. He had a little bit of trouble in this fight with Kelvin's hand speed and pressure. He managed to work around that using feints and footwork to land his strikes. He became the interim champion and now will fight Robert Whittaker to unify the title. Congrats to him and my respect goes to both fighters. That was a war. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.